Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Over Quota. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review if you haven't already. And like always, the J. David Group, which is my company, is sponsoring this podcast. We help founders and CEOs turn their startups into unicorns by introducing them to CROs and VPs of sales with track records of generating revenue, building teams, and scaling growth. This podcast is also now being sponsored by Lego. For all you sales leaders out there, have you ever absolutely nailed a presentation or had a rep who killed a presentation that you wished you recorded to be seen later by new hires or other members of your team who may have been struggling from one aspect of it or another? Well, that's just one of the things that Lego can do. Not only will it allow you to record your best content for practice, collaboration, and feedback, but it gives you a way to organize all of your best content in one place so it's easily accessible to help improve sales performance for everyone. So email me, web@thejddavidgroup.com, so I can personally introduce you to someone that will take great care of you. Now, to my guest. My guest today is Zach Rego, someone I've known for many years. We'll talk about that history in a second. Vice President of Sales at Unstack, which helps marketers build high-performance websites, blogs, and landing pages that integrate with your existing marketing stack to drive traffic, leads, and sales for your business. By the way, no headaches because there's no code required. Zach also hosts a podcast on behalf of Unstack by the name of 0 to a Million, which focuses on how founders acquire their first customers and then scale from there. Zach, I should say welcome home. I usually say welcome to Over Quota, but I feel like I want to say welcome home.
Yeah, no, great to be here. Thanks for having me, Jay.
Absolutely. Tell us remind me actually, and remind our audience, like, do you remember where you were working when we first met, and tell me a little bit about that and what you were looking for, I guess, in your life and in your career at that point. And how many years ago was that now? Was it like
It was
10?
2012. So
Wow.
yeah, coming up on 9 years.
Amazing.
It was, man, seems like a lifetime ago.
Yes.
But yeah, I was early in my career. I think I might have been 25 or 26. At this point, you were still placing, sales reps, just just J. David Group was just lowly sales rep, recruiting firm. No, I was actually working for a software consulting firm. We had kind of a bench of consultants that worked on SAP projects. And, people could either go to Deloitte or they could kind of go to these boutique firms that focus in core areas. And I was doing sales for them, 100, 125 dials a day to CIOs, IT directors, getting hung up on, I don't know, 60, 70% of the time there. But it was an awesome sales job. I learned a ton there. And I was in Raleigh, North Carolina, which I'm back to now. But at the time, I wanted to relocate back to Boston. So quit my job, packed up my apartment with my now wife, who had, just graduated from fifth year. She took the long road to graduation, but had just graduated, and she was ready to make a move. So we were like, hey, let's pack up our stuff. I quit my job. We packed one trailer with like a couch and like basically our clothes and her 4Runner and drove to Boston. I showed up with no job. I was interviewing the whole ride up. Actually, you had set me up with a few interviews. My ultimate goal was to just get in with the SaaS startup. Like at that point, money was flying around Boston. VCs were throwing money to all these kind of earlier stage companies. They obviously still are now, but at that point, it just, something was happening in Boston that felt, like it was the next, Silicon Valley. Obviously it didn't turn out there, but money was flying. And you introduced me to a few companies. One that I remember, the VP of sales basically ended the phone screen after 15 minutes. He was like, you can't change careers and change locations at the same time. And I was like, oh yeah. The next interview was with Jason O'Hare at Wordstream. And it went well. He was, quite a character, and did a face-to-face interview my first day. I pulled into Boston. Literally, we parked the van at my mom's house, or the trailer at my mom's house. I drove into the city, did an interview with Jason and the CEO, Ralph, at the time, and started the next Monday. Like literally had 1 week off between jobs.
Amazing.
Thanks to you. So I appreciate that.
That is incredible. That's why I wanted to ask you that, because I don't think I either knew or remembered that you were driving. I probably did know at the time, obviously, you were driving up from North Carolina, but that you were taking calls in the car, which I think is amazing. And do you remember, you don't have to say the name, but what was the name of the company?
Oh, no, I know. I remember. I got receipts for all of this, Jay. I got a great story behind it, too.
Tell me.
I won't say the name of the executive.
Yeah.
The company was Backupify.
Okay.
I was really excited about it.
Yeah.
It was an AE role.
Mm-hmm.
We got like 15, 20 minutes into it, and I was selling like complex, like high level sales, like $250 to $1 million contracts,
Mm-hmm.
and I was 25 or so years old.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't getting paid as much as I should have for selling that looking back, but regardless, I was doing like pretty complex sales, full sales cycle. And he just didn't believe that I could transition to a more transactional SaaS-based sale. Basically cut off the phone screen. He was like, I'd hire you to be a BDR, but you can't come in and be an AE. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, whatever, like, buddy, like, click, So we ended that. Within an hour, I was on the phone with Jason O'Hare and things went great. But funny enough, that company came in as a lead when I was at Wordstream.
Interesting.
And I got assigned it. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like, I'm going to sell this guy. And then I'm going to remind him that he didn't hire me. And I'm going to give him all the stats.
Was he a direct, were you talking to him directly during that sales process? That's amazing. You know, what's funny about
he was on the calls. He later, soon after got let go, which I don't take any solace in. But anyways, I went on to have a successful career in SaaS sales.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's so many parallels there that we can get into offline that I'll talk to you about, but very, very interesting. And you mentioned when you were, obviously you were coming up from North Carolina, you said that you wanted to get into SaaS sales. That was something that you wanted to get into with a startup. Why? What was it about the opportunity at the time that you said, this is something that I want to hitch my wagons to?
Yeah, honestly, I just didn't want to sell services anymore. I didn't want to sell people. There are so many variables in a person taking on a project.
Yes.
That's so inconsistent, and you get just, this, right? Like, you're managing, relationships between two people at all times, at least two people. It's like one of them goes haywire and everything shit hits the fan, and you had no control over that. Like, that was my number one reason, was just, I needed something that had some level of consistency. Like, I am selling a product that does X, Y, and Z. And I can say with X% certainty that it's going to do that unless something crazy happens and something breaks, which we all know happens often, but not, like, man, I used to get emails like, hey, one of your contractors tried to expense an adult video. And it's like, I got to call this guy and be like, dude, you can't expense adult videos. What are you, like, I'm 25 and I know that I can't do that. Like, come on. Just peel that line item out for me.
Right.
But that is just crazy shit that I had to deal with it. I'm like, not again. Software doesn't buy adult videos, as far as I know. Not yet.
Yeah, right.
I'm sure there is one, actually.
Yeah.
But
machine learning, I'm sure.
It's a different podcast.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow. Okay. And then when you got to Wordstream, talk to me about that. Obviously we'll lead up to Unstack, but talk to me about the state of the sales organization when you got to Wordstream. And I was looking at your LinkedIn profile to look at a lot of the awards that you won, and I forgot about the Super Bowl and those types of things. So we have to
best trip of my life.
I want to get into that. I remember when that happened, but tell me about that. What was the state of the sales team that you were in? Like, in other words, how many salespeople were there? What markets were you selling to?
So they had just raised a little bit of money. They had gone through kind of multiple, I don't want to say pivots, but like they were in kind of the SEO space and keyword research. And they were like, all right, we're not quite working. Like, we got into some PPC for keyword research for Google AdWords at the time. And they had created a tool called the AdWords Performance Grader, which was this kind of product-led growth tool that audited your Google Ads account. It was pretty innovative at the time. There are 1 million of them now, and leads were flowing. They had kind of figured out the sales process and had, I think, maybe 12 sales reps and 2 sales managers that they had just promoted from sales rep to manager. And then Jason, the VP of sales, who, no less than maybe 14 months earlier was, on the phone doing and figuring out the sales process himself. So like, really, decent growth for kind of where they were from a size perspective on the sales side. And they had a hiring class with me and 4 other sales reps. I think you placed a couple of us. And basically a rolling thunder of sales classes of 4 to 5 people for like the next 3 months. So we were like growing
Mhm.
pretty rapidly on the sales side. Um, and it was a really exciting time. I think they had kind of figured out the sales process. We kind of had like our sales deck. It was horrible. Like, I think Jason will admit this. He made it. He's not like a PowerPoint expert by any means. Like, we didn't have a designer that did it. We iterated and it got better. But we had really started to figure out the sales process, and they were just starting to hire like crazy. So it was a really fun time.
It's funny. They are, I'd say, the quintessential reason why I focused on, to your point, right, tech sales when I first got
Yeah.
into recruiting anyhow, because of that kind of growth. And I remember at one point, I think when you were hired, I may have hired maybe 4 or 5. They may have hired 4 or 5 people from me at that particular time, like when you got hired. But as they were growing, obviously, I had just started the J. David Group in 2011. I had grown with them, and that's one
Yeah.
of the things that's really nice about, working in this industry and growing with these companies and seeing people like you grow over time. It's just fascinating. And so you won a lot of awards while you were there as an individual contributor. Tell me, what did you learn quickly enough, or what did you bring to the table that enabled you to be successful? And then fast forwarding, and I want to get into Unstack, but as you start to build Unstack, what are some of the things that you can take now, looking back then, that you say, like, this is what worked, this is what I want to duplicate, and this will be our path to success going forward?
Yeah. Honestly, I think, what made me successful early was just competitiveness and like willing to make as many calls and emails as I possibly could. There was no shortage of leads or accounts to call at the time, which was great.
Hmm.
But honestly, the other piece is, I think we were early. I don't want to say early, like Google AdWords had been around for a bit, but like SMBs were just like dipping their toe, and kind of the mid-market was just dipping their toe into Google Ads at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the number one thing I learned by calling CIOs and IT directors is you have to know a lot. Like, they want to stump you instantly. Like, as soon as they answer the phone, your first question better hit them, or else they're going to try to stump you with a question and then hang up on you.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a lot of time learning. Like, even when I prepared for the interview, I just was like trying to be a sponge and learn as much about digital advertising as I possibly could. And probably for that first 2 years, I spent hours every day reading a variety of blog posts from Wordstream, from other, search engine land, marketing problems, like all these different resources that were usually focused on enterprise marketers or, larger digital marketing agencies. And I just tried to be a sponge and be a resource for my prospects. And early at that time, I was able to be that like conduit between like the expert strategies and the SMB marketer who didn't know anything, because I was that person. Like, I didn't know anything when I started. So I was able to dumb it down to like what I understood from these complex things that I was reading. And, hard work, and that got me to where I needed to go for the first couple of years. Obviously, you start to refine the process, and I got to work a lot smarter, not harder, in those later years, and make good money doing it. But really, that was what got me through in those first couple of years.
I alluded to it, so I don't want to leave the audience hanging. Tell us about the Super Bowl and the Brazilian Cup. What was that all about?
Oh man, so Google did a competition for their partners, and Wordstream became a large Google partner, the number one partner when I left. As far as like, we managed a lot of accounts for them. We kind of were a customer success arm of their business. If you think about Google, right? They've got tens of millions of SMB advertisers. Like, they can't build an entire customer support team to manage that. They could, but it wouldn't make a ton of sense. So we became a partner of theirs, and they did a competition that was the first year at Wordstream. When I won, it was just whoever's the number one sales rep got to go. I had a great year, or half year at that time. At that point, it was ended up winning and got to go to Brazil to the World Cup, all expenses paid trip, like 9 days in Brazil. We went to Sao Paulo, we went to Rio, we went to a game. Google had tons of different really cool events set up for us. We got to have dinner the Christ the Redeemer statue, which was just gorgeous, like looking over Rio, having dinner outside. It was just amazing. The next year, I'll never forget it, man. Wordstream changed the competition where you couldn't, if you were the number one rep, you couldn't just win. You basically, oh, tell me about it. Pissed me off. I don't want to say I blew out the competition, but I did in the first year. So they had to level the playing field. So what they did was you got to like 110%, you got one business card in a hat. You got to 120, you got another. You got to 130, you got another, but it was capped. So the most you could get in was 3 business cards. And they do the drawing in front of the whole company. And at this point, we did a customer success person and a salesperson that could win. And they were drawing the names out of the hat. And every time my name got pulled out of the hat, the entire floor cheered. Like they wanted me to lose so bad. I love being the villain. Like I thrive on that stuff. So it was great. Turns out I didn't make it. A sales rep who was outstanding, April, ended up making it. Is that right? Yeah, April ended up making it. Okay. And this is for the Super Bowl against the Seahawks. Well, come to find out, I was bummed. Like I'd killed it. It was my best year ever by a mile. And Ralph, our CEO, submitted me to Google to win this like wild card as like the person that's generated the most revenue for Google out of all their partner reps. And I ended up winning that luckily. So I got to go as well. And it was the Pats Seahawks Super Bowl. I'm a huge Patriots fan. I grew up in the Northeast. Obviously an amazing game, all expenses paid, got to go out on the field after the game. And like the players are coming on the field and holding the trophy. And I'm like 20 feet away, behind a barrier because they keep all the crazies away from the players. But man, to have the confetti coming down on you in the middle of the field at the Super Bowl was incredible. Like one of the coolest experiences of my life. Especially the way that one ended. Yeah. April with a G, right? Her last name was Gadarowski. She was a fierce competitor on the sales floor at Wordstream for a long time. An awesome sales rep. Proud to say we placed her too. Yeah, nice. Yeah, you had some good ones, man. I don't think you missed on many if I remember back. We could go through the list, but we won't call all of them out. Yeah. So, okay. So let's fast forward to where present day, right? So you're at Unstack. First of all, unpack that for me. I said it at the top of the episode as I introduced you, but give us a sense of what Unstack's value proposition is, the market that you focus on, and your vision moving forward. And frankly, even backing up from there as far as what you were hired to do, right? As the VP of sales there. And then also, if there are lessons learned from what you've seen as far as the growth at Wordstream. I'd love to hear how you plan on incorporating those as well. Yeah, so Unstack is really got one mission in mind. It's empowering non-technical founders and marketers to build great digital businesses. And what we've found in the market, and our founder is a non-technical founder, right? He was the chief product officer, moved into a CEO role. As a product marketer, right? Like you build these amazing products and then you've got to wait for marketing, who's typically waiting on a developer to build a new page, build a new site, build a landing page for a marketing campaign, test messaging. All of that stuff just takes time. And Grant got frustrated and was like, I'm going to try to find a way to build, kind of the premier system for this. And non-technical resources are outpacing technical resources 10-1. As you know, like it's tough to find. You're not a software recruiter because it's a pain in the ass to find good engineers that want to take a new job and they want a ton of, and it's a really difficult thing for companies. So we're really trying to empower the marketers at early and mid-stage SaaS companies with the tools they need to manage their digital presence. So that's website, that's landing pages, that's analytics, that's integrations, that's dashboards, that's their blog and content, forms. All of that is kind of baked into one, and it makes it really easy for someone to manage their digital presence and really scale their digital presence without having to wait on developers. And describe your role there as the VP of sales and what you're tasked to do moving forward as you take a deep gasp. When I mentioned Jason O'Hare, being in the driver's seat while also still selling and trying to figure out the entire sales process, I'm kind of there, and that's what I wanted. So I had been talking to Grant for a long time, and I don't want to say kind of advising him from a sales and marketing perspective for probably 8 months before I joined the company. But man, I wanted to go back to like hitting the phones, right? Defining the sales process, building comp plans, building the sales deck. And like, I was able to do a lot of that at Wordstream throughout the years, but it was always kind of like the V2, right? The V2 of comp plans, the V2 of sales decks, the V2 of sales process. And I'm kind of really driving that right now. So I'm running sales, marketing. I actually manage the support team as well right now. And then obviously partnerships, which is agency partners, integration partners, so technology partners that we can work with, co-marketing partnerships. So all of that I'm juggling with a great team of a few resources right now, and we'll be growing the team pretty rapidly here in the next like 3 to 6 months.
How do you see that playing out? Like, as you look at the next 6 months or year or so, how do you plan to execute in on that? And what are the goals in terms of customer numbers? Is it revenue? How are you defining what you should be measuring at this point?
Right. So, the ultimate goal for the year is to get to 1,000 customers.
Okay.
We're at 200 right now, full transparency, which is great. We've grown a lot in the last 6 months since I've been here. Now it's time we've started to figure out like our funnel. Like we kind of know like if we can get this many site visitors, we're going to get this many trials and this many subscribers, and here's kind of the rolling thunder that happens, which is great. Like when you're early, you don't have those metrics. You just need the data. My next hire is an email kind of marketing specialist / demand gen person. Hopefully they can do it all. Everyone has to do it all for now. Once I get that person in, my goal is to segment the funnel, right? So like right now I know that if I can get 500 leads, like 50 of them are going to turn into paying subscribers, pretty good conversion rate. What I really want to see is if I get someone to come in and optimize marketing and email nurture and get those touchless sales to go from right now 50% of our sales are touchless. If we can get that to go to 70%, and I kind of know what's left over in the lead flow, then I know, hey, I need to hire 2 salespeople to kind of manage this amount of leads. Or hey, maybe that email marketing person blows it out of the water. I only need to hire 1 salesperson in the short term until we ramp demand. So, next 2 hires on the sales front are going to be agency partner manager, because that is mostly outbound, a lot of relationship building. This person will kind of be a general manager. Like they'll handle the marketing, they'll handle the support, they'll handle co-selling. They'll be doing it all for, I would say, probably the next 6 months after they're hired. And then I'm looking for a couple reps that are probably 1 year into being an SDR and ready to get a little bit of closing experience, but it's going to be a very transactional sale, just high volume. Your goal is probably going to be, I would say like 30 to 35 sales a month. And we will comp more than likely based off of MRR. So you'll have an MRR target. You hit 100% of that, you'll get 100% of your commission bonus. You'll get an accelerator above and a decelerator below. And that's probably how that is how we're going to structure our comp plans for the first couple of hires there. And they'll help me define the sales model, which I've started to really build out over the last 6 months.
How do you prioritize when you have so much on your plate, right? And so many things to focus on and target? How do you prioritize? I've been asking this lately just because it's my world, right? And I want to learn from people like you and others. How do you prioritize the initiatives that you're working on? Like, I want to do this first, do the second, or do these in tandem, put this off until, 2 weeks from now or 30 days from now. How do you think about that?
Yeah. It's so easy to just want to hire salespeople to come in and like hit the phones and try to scale that way. I'm really starting like, honestly, how you would look at your sales funnel or marketing funnel. And I'm saying like, what's at the top and like, let's hire there first. So like my first hire was like, hey, I need someone to create content and like really start to build our brand with me. And that was my first hire, Kaylee. She's outstanding. She's been creating, tons of blog posts for us, going out and guest writing on tons of like large sites and publications that is just getting us a ton of traffic. And I'm starting to fill that. And it's like, okay, now I've got trials, right? We went from maybe 160 trials a month to, just under 500 last month in the last 6 months. It's like, okay, now I'm getting trials. Like, okay, now I need to start hitting the phones. And I've been, dialing and sending emails and creating sequences and like starting to figure that piece out myself. And she's fully working on that kind of demand piece at the top still. What I've been doing and why I decided email nurture is most important is we've been able to increase that touchless sale slightly just by me starting to like drop people into sequences that I'm creating that I think have the right kind of sales methodology behind them. And I think with the right kind of email specialist, right, he or she can create tons of workflows that basically will segment these 500 trials and be like laser targeted on trying to get them to upgrade in their first 7 or 14 days. Mm-hmm. Then I'm thinking, okay, what's left over? And that's where I want to hire salespeople. I want to hire salespeople to get us incremental deals on top of the folks that are going to buy on their own, the folks that we can nurture to buy on their own. Where I need sales folks is to say, hey, these 200 leads are left over. They didn't upgrade and they're still engaging. Probably a more complex sale. Like, let's get folks on the phone. The other thing I want to invest in soon, and I recommend everyone does this. I'm starting to audit companies for this, is kind of lead enrichment tools that start to pull in like revenue, company size, things like that we don't have right now. And we don't want to ask it on our forum because it just lowers conversion rate a ton. But like getting those lead enrichment tools is going to allow me to segment the team a little bit more to where I'm going to have those transactional high volume sales reps. And then I'm probably going to hire one to focus on these enterprise deals, which we get. We just had a large airline reach out to us that was like, hey, we need 3,000 pages dynamically built like that. And we need to be able to update them like that. And it's like, cool, we can do that. Like, let's chat. More complex sale, a little bit outside of like a buy online or an early stage startup transaction. So that's where we'll probably in the next 12 months hire a person to manage the more enterprise sales for us.
That makes sense. So it's like, to your point, it's starting with at the top of the funnel and then moving down. That's how you're actually visualizing that priority in terms of this is where we need to start. Let me go back to the top of the funnel for a second, because this is interesting to me. The demand gen person, the writer that you talked about, the content writer, how is she operationalizing or going out and finding partners or company or other blogs or articles or news publications, whatever, to guest post for? What does that look like? Is she just reaching out? Is that you reaching out? What's going on there?
It's honestly, I don't know how she pulls off everything she does. So like kudos to Kaylee. But a lot of it is like, it starts with me, right? Like I'm finding creative like sites that I'm like, oh man, like this is getting 1 million visitors, like same audience. Like, let me just reach out and see what's available. And people are open to partnerships like this and guest blogging. Like everyone wants to curate content. And if you can get someone else to do it for you, amazing, right? So I'm signing her up to write a lot of content on a lot of sites. I'm reaching out and trying to write some stuff myself. She's got previous connections in the industry. She managed Wordstream's blog for a while, had left, gone somewhere else, and came and joined me. So, a lot of it is kind of leading with those opportunities and trying to like just give before you take in your partnership outreach. I spend a lot of time on that. She spends a lot of time on that. The other piece is getting guest writers for our blog and building a relationship that way. Like a lot of folks want to get their name out there just as much. Like even if you only have 25,000 monthly visitors, which is about where we're at, it's exposure, and people are open to getting a backlink and building their brand. So a lot of it is kind of, we'll write for you, you can write for us, or, hey, we'll write for you. Do you want to come on our podcast? That type of relationship. But we're always reaching out, just trying to find those audiences that are similar ICP, large amount of traffic, selling something that's kind of alongside of Unstack, and coming up with a couple topics for them.
ICP, ideal customer profile.
Yeah. Yep.
I want to ask you about something you said a little bit ago, which is, making sure that you don't have too many fields on the form because it lowers conversions. Strategically, how often are you testing those things, right? Those are like real micro decisions in the overall scheme of things.
Well, luckily for us, we have A/B testing built right into our platform. Not to pitch the platform, but it's amazing to have all of it like under one roof. Like literally, I'll be, at 1 a.m. laying in bed, wake up and be like, oh, that was an interesting like way of framing our product. And I'll log into my computer, set it up, go, and like let it run for a month. So we do a lot of tests. I mean, there's obviously a lot of studies on this. There are a lot of companies that focus, just on, getting your form down to one ask, get the email, and then we're going to fulfill everything else. It's like amazing. So like if people are building entire businesses around it, there's a reason. Man, in a perfect world, I'd know employee count, revenue, number of pages on your site. Like, I could ask 100 things, but I'm not going to. So, it's something we test. It's something we spend a lot of time thinking about. What do we need that's the bare minimum to make us successful now? And then, what should salespeople be enriching, or a tool potentially could be enriching in the long term?
2 questions to follow up on that. How much data, you mentioned let it run for a month. How much data do you need to have to feel comfortable to say, yes, this is working. No, we should kill this. I should get up at 1 a.m. and change this. and how many fields are on that form now currently?
Right now we have,
or which fields?
Outside of password, our sign up flow is give us your email, and then we automatically populate that into the app sign up form. So we at least capture an email. That's something we did. We tested a lot and did it Wordstream and worked well, and just kind of getting those first action, like get as many emails as you can to start. And then we ask, first, last, company, and website, and then create a password, and that's it.
But it sounds like, do you capture their email first, so we at least have that, and then once they've said submit, then you capture the other data? Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And it auto populates the email, so you have to type it in again. And then what's cool about, like the space we're in is people expect for the onboarding in app to like ask more questions, right? Like they're coming to us because we're a no code CMS and platform. Like they want to get something that's like built when they're done. So like we're able to ask, industry quickly so that we can serve them templates. Doesn't, dirty little secret, like it changes a little bit. It just reprioritizes what templates you see.
Yes.
But like we get industry, right? And then they choose a template, and we're able to infer a little bit from that based on like the scale of their site. I'd love more and more and more, but we're doing some more to try to acquire more information about our prospects in different ways. Where I don't know when this is coming out, but we just acquired a Chrome extension, that actually does a styles guide for websites. So you can go to a website, you click on the Chrome extension, it tells you all the fonts and colors that are on that site. So like now we'll start to pull some of that info into the onboarding. So like it'll allow us to really curate a whole different type of outreach over a period of time. That'll be really powerful. So always trying to come up with creative ways to get more information from people without actually, outright asking for it. Like we're providing value while also, getting more value out of the lead.
By the way, I'm on your email list, and I appreciate your email writing style. I'll say, it is engaging. I like the headline. I think the last one that I got was an interview that you did with a founder. I think what's his name? Nikhil.
Nick. Yeah, he's a super sharp guy. Everyone should listen to that one.
Yeah, I was listening earlier. Yeah, and so I'm on email list, and I've been watching that because I'm a big proponent of exactly that, right? Lead nurturing and email nurturing, because once you capture the email and they're on your email list, you're not paying for that lead anymore, right? And you can nurture it and hopefully convert it at some point down the road.
Yeah, and you asked, hey, what did you learn from Wordstream that you want to recreate? Like that, you got to give the marketing department at Wordstream a ton of credit, which sales leaders should always do. I won't say they don't, but and they did an amazing job of building a lot of lead enrichment. Like we asked a lot of questions. We were always trying to grab more. So even if we got the email, first name, company name, and stuff on the first pass, we would ask for like little things to download guides down the line. So early on, we were doing our own data enrichment before we went and bought a tool to do it. We spent a lot of time, especially when I took over as a GM there, with kind of my marketing partner, Amanda, who, was always looking for new ways to slice and dice our list and get really creative and build, sequences to kind of push people. And I've taken a lot of that to what we do here and with my team. We haven't quite got it to that level yet, but that's what this next hire will help me do, is really formalize a process around it.
Do you have sales reps yet, or you're the one? We're running everything until you start doing what we just talked about.
Yeah, I'm the one right now.
Um,
Yeah. We did have one. It just wasn't the right time. It wasn't fair to him. And I think this is something every startup should be aware of, is like, when do you bring people in? Like, when are you ready for that?
Mhm.
And you know, we decided to part ways mostly because we needed to reset and like build a real plan for who fills these seats and why are they filling these seats, which I think every startup executive should be thinking about.
You may have known this, but Wordstream, before you and I met, because I had been recruiting for them for probably 3 years at that time, just with another company. And, they had hired a bunch of people shortly after I had met them. I remember when I first met them, there were 2 salespeople, I think, and a VP of sales. They had hired, I think they had gotten up to 7, and then very quickly went back down to just a couple. The product wasn't ready. There was a lot of clawbacks, if you will, that the sales team was experiencing, which was just a lot of heartache, for sure. So it was just kind of a mess. And then Jason came there just as they'd fixed the product and gotten going. And obviously the the rest is history there. So you're right. I mean, sometimes it is, if you hire reps prematurely, those things can happen,
Yeah, it adds a lot of, you always got to make that first hire. So like do it, but like do it eyes wide open. Like know that you might be making a mistake. You might have to part ways, learn a lot, like man, what book is it? You might help me here. From Impossible to Inevitable, I think goes
Yeah.
through like who's the right hire for your stage of the business. And if you're an early stage executive, or you're thinking about hiring a new VP of sales, obviously talk to Jay, but also like read that book and like really sit down and think about like, where are we and who's right? Because I love to think that I'm super dynamic and I'm right for any VP of sales job. And I've done a lot of them, but like, man, when I first started here, I was like, holy shit, I really do need that team around me. And like, I've settled in after 6 months, but being fully transparent, for the first 2 months, it's like, whoa, am I ready to go back to this? Or do I want to just go take some cushy job where I've got a director of sales and 40 sales reps, and all I'm doing is, thinking about the executive stuff. And I'm really happy where I am 6 months later, but for that first couple of months, it's kind of a shock. Like, oh man, I took a big step back.
Well, so let me ask you about that. I'm actually looking for an episode that I did, by the way, to help sort of just, I guess, strengthen that point and bring it home to people. Samuel Clemens, he's a VC, and he's actually, he had founded Insight Squared, and now he's a VC. And the conversation that I had with him on the podcast was exactly what you just alluding to: hiring the right sales leader at the right stage of growth, and what that actually looks like. But tell me, what was the driver for you? I guess you talked about it a little bit before, but to say, what, I want to do this again. What was the thing that was just sort of pulling you there?
In all honesty, like I want to build my own business one day. I've got ideas. There's things I want to do as a, and be my own startup executive and try to bootstrap a company and build something. I really wanted to go back to the earlier stage so I could kind of pick up all those pieces I didn't get at Wordstream, raising a seed round, being involved in putting together the pitch deck. A lot of folks weren't willing to, that I interviewed with when I was kind of looking for this job, weren't willing to give me a lot of control over marketing, which I didn't want to lose. Like I loved my GM role at Wordstream. Like it was the most fun. It reinvigorated me. It got me to stay at Wordstream for another couple of years. My team was amazing. I learned a ton. I was kind of a mini CEO, getting to run like these little different pieces of the business. I didn't want to lose that in taking a VP of sales job. And a lot of the companies I were talking to that were slightly bigger, Series A or beyond, they just wanted me to come in and run sales. So I really was looking for something that gave me an opportunity to manage a little bit more from a department perspective, and then build a really powerful team, below me over the course of the years. So that was one thing that I was really hung up on.
Yeah, that makes sense. What have you, obviously you built teams over there at Wordstream, you were managing a lot of people there. what are some of the things that, as you step back from calling the customers, following up with the customers, like doing a lot of the slaves work, how do you ultimately, and how did you, I guess, ultimately drive performance through your reps, right? Whether it's,
Yeah.
whomever, right? And get them to perform at the level where, you expect them to perform when you're not doing it yourself anymore. You have to sort of take your
Yeah.
hands off the wheel.
It's honestly, that was probably my biggest struggle as you scale a team. So I was lucky enough to be a team lead uh, with 5 sales reps reporting to me. Like I was still selling a full quota and I had 5 sales reps reporting to me. And I asked for that because it was the best way for me to make the most money. Like I was getting bonus on all their performance. Plus I was still getting my individual contributor role. And I was lucky to like really ramp. I would say 3 or 4 of those 5 became like really solid sales reps by the time I took a full manager job. So I already had my kind of core team. And at that point, it was very much leading by example. Like if they looked at me and I'm, banging the phones or running demos, that was the best way for me to manage at that point. Where it became challenging is when I went from, 5 to 9 reps, and it was when I was off the phone. And I probably ruled with a bit of an iron fist there for a minute, like just like, here's what we got to do. Here's how we do it. Here's the systems. Here's the checklist. Like do it, led to a little bit of turnover, which is fine. People aren't ready for that sometimes. But I kept a core team. Like I had, man, 4 or 5 out of the first 9 that I hired were still at Wordstream when I left 5 years after I was promoted, 4 years after I was promoted. So, and a lot of them are, something I'm really proud of. I think I've got 4 people that were direct reports of mine that are now directors at companies around Boston.
Wow.
So,
yeah, that's great.
Like that core team that came in and worked with me is doing amazing stuff now. And, some of them built SDR teams, and guess what? They ruled with an iron fist, and they had sales processes and checklists and scripts and everything that I did, to them. Probably a little PTSD, but it is super challenging making that switch from being a player coach and being able to lead by example to just being able to lead.
So let me ask you this, because there seems to be some conflict in you. Is ruling with an iron fist then the Zachary Rego way to go? In other words, is you bring people on and
depends who you ask, man. No, that's not my recruit. That's not my recruiting pitch. No, it will make people. It's all about personality. Obviously, it's all about who you hire. I think one thing I learned throughout my career, and credit to John Judge, who came in as VP of Sales, like manage the personalities. He was amazing at that. Like we were very different. Like I was very strategy, focused. Like here's the process, here's what you do, and he was very great motivator, rah, like knew how to manage personalities, knew how to piss me off in just the right way, knew how to send a Slack that would just burn me up to the point where I would call him and be like, are you kidding me? But I learned a lot from him in that aspect, and that really helped me start to build different relationships with different reps. Some of them I still ruled with an iron fist and built sales processes and did that. And others it was, a little bit more of an emotional relationship and, building some of that emotional intelligence myself and using tools, like predictive index, which is what we used at Wordstream, or Rally Bright or Crystal. There's amazing personality tools out there to understand how you should communicate with your reps. I think that's really important. And that helped me in a lot of ways. It helped me cross-functionally. So like managing executives on other teams. But that was a really kind of big inflection point in my career was starting to build that in intelligently, which is a Boston company that is no longer around. The Dave Balter and his wife, Sarah Hodges, had started, taught me a lot of that as well. And like that bit changed how I managed folks in the long term, and actually helped me retain people a whole lot better because I was managing to them as opposed to managing a team in one way.
Interesting. Episode number 24, by the way, is the episode that I did with Samuel Clemens. So definitely take a look at that. It's how to choose the right sales leader at the right time. Episode number 24. Speaking of these, so you mentioned one of the things that you wanted to do was to really be in the discussion and help raise money. Have you gotten there yet? Are you guys looking to raise money now? Where are you with all that?
Yeah, we just raised a $3.1 million seed round. We just announced that a few weeks ago. So, that's kind of, the pour fuel on some of the fires. We're gonna hire, as I mentioned, in the sales plan, but really exciting. A lot of interest in it, which is awesome to see. I did get to help put together the deck and get the feedback and understand, where people were pushing and asking questions and how they interview the executive team. So it was a really great experience for me. And, as someone that wants to build their own business one day and might potentially have to raise money, I got to learn a lot from Grant and Steve, our co-founders. I got to learn a lot from the VCs we spoke with and what they were looking for and why. So that was really fun, selling to a consumer and selling to a VC. While there is, some overlap in the Venn diagram, the way you frame your product is so different. So it was really cool to kind of start to get into that.
Yeah, that is really cool. Who's the seed? Who'd you raise it with?
So we have a bunch of amazing investors throughout the Boston kind of marketing community, which is amazing that they're building either marketing technology or they are marketing executives that kind of love us, which is a good kind of vote of confidence. The lead investor was El Cap Holdings, actually out of LA, and Salt Lake City. Former tech executive and former NFL football player is the lead investor, Stu Bradley. He's a really, really interesting story, an amazing writer too. He writes blogs on their blog all the time that are very, very interesting. But really cool transition for him, former NFL player into building a VC.
Wow, it's amazing. What did you talk to Larry at all? I wonder during all that.
We did not. No, Interesting point. I never even thought to reach out to him. We should have.
Probably not too late for the next round.
No, right. No, and we've got Dave Balter. I mentioned him. Obviously, an amazing Boston-based executive. Jess Maher. Andrew from Klaviyo. It's Peter Caputo. Awesome names that are great resources for us and are all building amazing businesses for the first, second, or third time in some cases, or in Dave Balter's case, I think the 9th time, which is insane. He's a glutton for punishment.
Amazing. All right, are you ready for what I call the rapid fire 5?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. I'll ask you 5 questions. Give me 5 answers. Do you have a morning routine? If so, what is it?
I used to. I recently had a baby. He's coming up on 4 months, so it totally changed now. It's usually I wake up, I change a diaper. My wife usually elbows me and it's like, "Hey, can you change him?" And then I take him for the first couple hours of the morning so she can hopefully fake sleep for a little bit. But it used to be get up. I used to, an app that I downloaded that I really enjoyed was Blinkist, I think it was called. I used to get up and listen to a 10 to 20 minute. They basically do a Cliff Notes audio book for books. And I would listen to a 10 to 20 minute book while cleaning up my email. So going through, looking at leads, reading a couple newsletters here and there that I find interesting and keep up with. Check the Robinhood account and the stock accounts to see what's happening. Maybe put in a buy, pre-market, see what happens. Have a little fun, my little gambling for the day, and then try to get my cup of coffee and get rolling by about 8 a.m., 8:30. I try to be logged in. Now it's change a diaper, sit with the baby, play with him, and go through my emails real quick while he's sitting in my lap.
Yeah, definitely difficult to keep those morning routines when when you have small kids. It's a little bit now. I have a 7 and 5-year-old, so we're back more consistently than it was for sure. What are you excited about right now, personally and professionally?
Personally, raising this son, seeing what he does every day is super exciting. Being in quarantine is tough with a baby, but every day I get a little ray of light. He does something new that's like, oh shit, do you see that? And that's so fun. Personally, I'm also really trying to hone my podcasting skills, interviewing skills. I'm listening to, Howard Stern interviews, one of the greatest interviews of all time. I'm listening to Larry King interviews, trying to see how these folks not only prepare, but what are they asking? How are they following up on questions? How do they be really consistent? Which has been a lot of fun and really tough to implement, even though I can run a sales demo and ask the right line of questions like crazy. When I'm podcasting, man, it's a total different ballgame. For some reason, it really shouldn't be, but that's kind of personal development I'm really working on. Professionally, man, I'm drinking from a fire hose. Learning how to scale a business with limited budget has been a lot of fun.
Mm.
And I've been doing a lot of reading of different kind of growth strategies you can leverage that people use to build bootstrap companies. Even though we're not bootstrapped, I'm still trying to take that approach right now. And that's been just a lot of fun to get into the weeds of what people are doing and learn a whole different way to build a business where I'm so used to paid digital media and pay-per-click marketing. It's really cool to kind of go to the other side of the coin and be like, how can you get a lot of exposure and a lot of impressions for free? So that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to echo the Howard Stern, Larry King. There's another guy, Brian Lamb, who has retired seemingly from C-SPAN that I used to listen to.
Okay.
I used to listen to him Sunday nights at 11 p.m. just to fall asleep. I'm like, I'm going to listen to this really boring interview just so that I can fall asleep. But he would, no matter what the subject was, and it was certainly inane for the most part, I would half hour later, I'd still be listening to Brian ask the questions because it was just he's just such a good interviewer. He could make anything fascinating that I didn't even care about 30 minutes ago before.
Yeah. It's tough, man. There's not a lot of resources out there, which is interesting to like just learn the best like podcast interviewing skills.
Mm-hmm.
It's honestly tricky to find like that one way to really hone it, which is interesting.
Andrew, I'll give a shout out to my podcasting mentor, Andrew Warner, who you'd love the podcast, by the way. It's called Mixergy, Mixergy. It's a business podcast, interviews founders and CEOs. Actually, a couple of my clients he's interviewed as well, but just a really, really strong interviewer for sure. So definitely check him out. What do you want to, speaking of, I guess, what do you want to get better at right now? Maybe it's the same thing.
Podcast interviews number one on my list. Personal branding, I think it's kind of something people are buzzing about right now. I posted this before, but like I hate that I wasn't earlier adopter to LinkedIn and like posting more than just what marketing asked me to post kind of thing. So starting to build that out. I'm building a little side business that I'm learning a ton building. It's a mobile golf simulator business. We're going to pull up to your house. We'll be able to set up a golf simulator. You and your buddies or family can have some beers, play golf, play Pebble Beach right in your driveway. So we're ready to launch that. We Go Golf. So I'm really excited about that. We're going to be in just the Raleigh market, but expanding to a city near you in the coming years, probably. That has been a big learning experience, but it's been a lot of fun.
I need to talk to you about that offline. That's fascinating. What keeps you motivated?
Man, it used to be money. I don't know, man. I like recognition, like once I started winning awards and stuff, it was like, I love it when people see me win an award. Like that was always, my big motivator as an individual contributor. I'm still motivated by that, but now it's more like company awards, like seeing us raise money and like seeing people talk about that. Like that was a lot of fun. Like seeing our podcast to get named as the top 50, best podcast for startup founders in no particular order. It was alphabetical order. So we were last, but whatever, like 50 is fine. But like those little things, man, like they make me keep going. Like people see this and like, that's really powerful for me. So that's what keeps me motivated.
Advice on podcasters: don't name your podcasts start with a Z.
Yeah, damn it. Advice for people doing ranking systems: do reverse alphabetical order from time to time. As a Zach, like, come on, cut us all a break, man.
That's right. It should be what is it? A million from zero.
We're doing a rebrand now.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. A million from zero. And lastly, what's your preference for consuming information? Blinkist and what would you say? What do you listen to mostly? Or
I've done it all. I've gone back to reading books. Started with books, went to heavy podcasts, still listen to a lot of podcasts, went to audiobooks, which I enjoyed for a bit. Blinkist was a big driver of that. It just gave me ideas. And then I just signed up for Audible. I'd buy the whole book. Back to physical books, mostly because a lot of the books I'm reading right now are really dense and have like worksheets in them that you just need to work on. I'm in the middle of Traction, which I've been reading for what seems like an eternity. But it takes me back to when I read Spin Selling for the first time, and like I filled out all the forms in Spin Selling, and like it was a really cool experience, and I still have it, you know. So I'm back to physical books if I had to say the number one way I'm consuming content.
Wow, it sounds like you've gone the opposite of me. I'm back. I mean, you figure with a 4-month-old, it's like, man, I can't read anymore because it's just all the quiet time. It's like it's it's harder to sort of get uninterrupted time where you can just sit and read. Where fantastic. Zachary Rego, good seeing you again, my friend. I loved this interview, just listening to your career arc, so to speak. Although arc would mean that
we're not coming back down quite
yeah,
yet,
exactly.
man.
I would say, let's not say that, right? Yeah,
unless you know something I don't.
Let's call it career trajectory.
Love it.
Right now is what we're talking about. So thank you for going over quota. Goodbye, everyone. Cue in the music.